What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Neighborhood Podcast. One of the hosts of the podcast, my name is Kyle Dabro. So, in this video, we are going to go over our NFL Week 6 power rankings. Similar to what we've done through the first 5 weeks, we're going to start at number 10 and then work down to the number one team in the NFL at this current moment in time. So, to start out at number 10, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. I thought the Raiders had a good bounce back win against the Broncos this week. And coming into this game, a lot of the focus was paid towards John Gruden being removed from the head coaching spot for the Raiders. And despite the media circus that was around the Raiders going into this game, the Raiders didn't let that affect them. I thought Derek Carr had a phenomenal game against Denver. He threw for over 300 yards passing, and they got great contributions from Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake out of the backfield. And when I look at the Raiders right now, they're currently tied with the Chargers at the top of the AFC West at 4-2. They still have a lead over the Broncos and the Chiefs, who currently sit at 3-3. And I do think that, at least for the foreseeable future, those two teams are really going to be working it out at the top. And who knows, you could even see the Chiefs kind of get into that top spot if they get on a run as well. But at this current moment, the Raiders are definitely on a good pace at this point. This is a good bounce back win for them, and that's why I have them at number 10. So at number 9, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. And look, they had a terrible game against the Baltimore Ravens. They scored 6 points against the Ravens. And when I look at this game in its totality, I think Justin Herbert had his worst game in his NFL career. Granted, this is only his second year, but I think you kind of have to put this performance up as his worst. And it wasn't just Justin Herbert who had a bad game. The defense gave up 34 points. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they all had pedestrian performances in this game. This was just a well-rounded loss from all units on the Chargers. So, kind of similar to what I just mentioned with the Raiders, they're currently sitting at 4-2. Honestly, going into this game against the Ravens, I thought they were arguably one of the best teams in the AFC. They definitely take a back seat in the power rankings this week. I think I had them somewhere around 6 or 7 last week, but they fall back to number 9, and that's where I think they are at this current moment in time. At number 8, I have the Tennessee Titans. I thought the Titans played one of the best performances that we saw in week 6 altogether. And that matchup against the Bills was amazing to me because I thought Derrick Henry single-handedly destroyed that Bills defense from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. And I just think that win over the Bills, who I have to kind of mention this, the Bills were the best team in the AFC going into that game against the Titans, but the Titans stepped up to the occasion and they delivered one of the best performances of the year, not just for themselves, but across the entire league. And they came up with a huge goal line stand to stop Josh Allen on a 4th and 1 with a QB sneak. And they ended up winning the game 34-31. The Titans have separated themselves as the best team in the AFC South. I'm not going to go as far as to say that they are the best team in the AFC. I still believe there are some teams ahead of them. But the Titans, this is the first time that I've had them in the top 10 of our power rankings, and I think it's well deserved. So this is definitely a team to look out for because I think this win against Buffalo, this could really be a kickstart for them to keep that momentum going and possibly get a good win streak going when it's all said and done. And that's why I have them at number 8. So at number 7, I have the Buffalo Bills. And the one thing that I want to focus about the Bills here is I thought that they did enough to win this game against the Titans. It's just on 4th and 1, they just couldn't make the play that needed to be made on that QB sneak. And look, I thought they scored pretty well in this game. They scored 31 points. So the offense wasn't really the issue. It was the defense that was just giving up points left and right and allowing Derrick Henry to just run all over them. But I'm still of the mindset that the Bills are a very good team. They were 1 play short, possibly 2 plays short of coming up with the win against the Titans in week 6. I still have a lot of faith in Josh Allen and this offense to keep it going. Defensively, they had a letdown game. I don't think it's really indicative of this team going forward. I think they'll be able to bounce back pretty quickly. I mean, I had them as high as number 2 in our power rankings last week, but they take a slide to number 7. But I think they'll be able to work themselves up back in the power rankings within the next couple weeks or so. I still believe that this team could be a top 5 team in the NFL when it's all said and done. But in this week's power rankings, I have them at number 7. At number 6, I have the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens probably had the best performance of any team in week 6 by just absolutely annihilating the Los Angeles Chargers. And the one thing I got to focus with the Ravens is their consistency out of the backfield is just a sight to behold. When they lost J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards before the season started, I really thought that they were going to take a back seat with their rushing attack. And despite that, they could just plug guys in and just make plays happen. I mean, Latavius Murray, Devontae Freeman, and Le'Veon Bell all had touchdowns in their performances against the Chargers this week. And despite the fact that Lamar Jackson didn't have his best game, he did enough for the offense to keep it going. But defensively, you got to give a lot of credit to this defense to being able to hold the Chargers to only 6 points. The Chargers have a very high-powered offense with Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, and Keenan Allen, and Jared Cook as well. And the fact that they couldn't get any consistency going on that side of the ball, you got to give a boatload of credit to the Ravens defense for stepping up and making plays happen. And also getting pressure on Justin Herbert. Granted, they didn't sack him too many times, but that constant pressure forced him off of his spot and just created undesirable situations for the Chargers as a whole offensively. So the Ravens, they sit themselves at the top of the AFC at this current moment in time, and I think it's well deserved. And that's why I have them at number 6 in the power rankings. So number 5, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I thought they had a pretty solid performance against the Eagles last Thursday. I thought they kind of took their foot off the pedal in the second half of the game just because the Eagles weren't really doing anything to impress me. They kind of got their act together in the fourth quarter, but I think by and large, the Bucs had just been going on autopilot after the third quarter. And I thought Tom Brady and the offense, I thought they looked pretty good. This was their third game in like an 11 to 12 day stretch. So I do think that fatigue could have been a factor to why they kind of let off the gas a little bit going into the fourth quarter. But the Bucs are still a very good team to contend with in the NFC. They're clearly a top 5 team, in my opinion. Defensively, though, they still are dealing with issues. And Richard Sherman, who they just signed a couple weeks ago, he will be out for the next couple weeks with a hamstring issue. And it just adds to the injuries that this secondary has with the Buccaneers. But as long as that Bucs offense is churning out points, if Tom Brady just continues to marvel at 44 years old like he has, I don't really see the Bucs going anywhere anytime soon, or I don't really see them falling off anytime soon, excuse me. But they're still one of the best teams in the NFC and one of the best teams in the NFL, and I have no worries about this team moving forward, and that's why I had them at number 5. At number 4, I have the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas got into a little bit of a dogfight with the Patriots this past week, and there were points at time in this game where, man, the Cowboys just didn't look like they were going to win this game. And then there were points in time where it was like, okay, this is the Cowboys team that we've seen all year. And then at the end of the game, after the Cowboys had gone up, I believe, 6 points after a Trayvon Diggs pick 6, they give up a huge 75-yard pass play from Mac Jones to Kendrick Bourne. And the Patriots were winning this game with just about 2 minutes to go in the game, but Dak was cool, calm in the pressure, and he was able to lead the Cowboys not only to the game-tying field goal at the end of the fourth quarter, he was also able to lead them to the game-winning touchdown to give them the win 35-29. The Cowboys offense has just been humming the entire season. Defensively, this was probably their worst game of the season, or at least one of them. You can maybe say that their game against the Bucs was pretty bad as well, but I thought, they were able to rise under the pressure because the Patriots played them pretty well. But the Cowboys have kind of set themselves apart as clearly the best team in the NFC East at this point. Kind of a trap game against the Patriots, but they were able to rise to the occasion and get the win on the road. And I mean, sitting at 5-1, and honestly, just a field goal kick away from being 6-0 against the Buccaneers, this is definitely one of the best teams in the NFC without a doubt, and that's why I have them at number 4. So number 3, I have the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams just put an absolute beatdown on the Giants this past week. It was so bad that the Giants fans were leaving MetLife Stadium at the third quarter. You don't typically see that. Typically, you see fans leaving the stadium somewhere around the fourth quarter when it's just an absolute blowout. But they were leaving in the middle of the third quarter, even early parts of the third quarter. And that's just kind of indicative of the Giants this season. But it just goes to show how good this Rams team is. Defensively, they basically shut down the Giants. I believe they only held them to 11 points in this game. The Rams offense was just humming the entire day. I thought Darrell Henderson had a really good performance. Matthew Stafford was lighting it up again. And Cooper Kupp he is just a fantasy dream at this point because the guy's going to get at least 6 to 8 catches a game, over 100 yards receiving, and he'll probably get 1 or 2 touchdowns a game. And that happened to be the case once again in this matchup against the Giants. The Rams, in my opinion, are right neck and neck with the Cardinals in the NFC West. The Rams are sitting at 5-1, and they're clearly one of the best teams in the NFL. And I think that will continue to be the case as we move on in the season. And that's why I have them at number 3. So number 2, I have the Green Bay Packers. Packers had a little bit of a tough matchup against the Chicago Bears on the road this weekend, but I thought that they were able to play a methodical game against the Bears. They limited their turnovers. They didn't make any bad decisions as far as I'm concerned. And when they needed Aaron Rodgers to make the plays that needed to be made in the crucial moments of the game, he was able to rise to the occasion and essentially seal the win for the Packers at the end of the game against the Bears. That 24-14 win was a huge road win for them. They're currently on a 5-game winning streak, and when it was all doom and gloom after they got destroyed by the Saints in week 1, they have turned it around, and they have turned it around in a hurry, and they've won, like I said, 5 straight games, and they have looked very well in those 5 games as well. So, I think the Packers are by far and away the best team in the NFC North. There's not really a lot of competition outside of the Vikings to really contend with for them. And I don't see this team really slowing down anytime soon. Aaron Rodgers is on an absolute mission right now, and I don't see him slowing down. And you can make a case that he is kind of making a case for some possible MVP considerations at this point. He is playing that well. And the Packers are playing well right behind him as well. And that's why I have them at number 2 in the power rankings. And then at number 1, kind of been a mainstay at the number 1 spot the last couple weeks, I have the Arizona Cardinals. They put an absolute beatdown on the Cleveland Browns this past weekend. Going into this game, I thought that Cleveland actually had a really good shot to end the Cardinals' undefeated season, just because I thought they had a really good offensive performance against the Chargers the week before. But the Cardinals said, nope, we're not going to let that happen. And the Cardinals put up 37 points and absolutely annihilated the Browns. The Cardinals' offense could not be stopped whatsoever. Kyler Murray had a sensational performance where he had 4 touchdowns, threw for about 230, 240 yards passing, and he was able to connect with his wide receivers all day, meaning A.J. Green, Christian Kirk, and DeAndre Hopkins. They all had good performances, in my opinion. Defensively, I thought they were sensational. They got pressure against Baker Mayfield, and they were able to slow down that Cleveland rushing attack that has been very good, to say the least, throughout most of the season so far. But I do think that with the Browns not having Nick Chubb in this game and then Kareem Hunt getting hurt in this game as well, I think it hurt the Browns' chances. But that didn't stop the Cardinals from putting an absolute beatdown in this game. They are clearly the best team in the NFL, in my opinion. They're the only undefeated team left at 6-0. And really, their biggest enemy at this point is themselves. I think they've set themselves up very well moving forward. This team as a whole is a well-rounded unit, despite the fact of some of the issues that I had going into the season on the defensive side of the ball. They have stepped up and they have put on some phenomenal defensive performances the last couple weeks, and I don't see anything changing anytime soon for the Cardinals, and that's why I have them at number 1 in our power rankings for week 6. But with that said, you guys, that'll wrap it up from here. If you guys liked the video, hit that like button below. If you guys want to support the channel in any way, shape, or form, hit that subscribe button below. Any sort of support that we can get for the channel, Kevin and I definitely appreciate it. Once again, just thank you guys for tuning in to watch the video, and we'll see you guys later.